friends, Sadri here, and welcome to another episode of SadriCodes. Today we are going to be looking at CSS variables, and we're going to be doing a little fun stuff with some what I call member group magic. This tutorial is mostly CSS, things that you could do on almost anything, but we're also going to look at a couple of things that are how I do them specifically for Jcink. So things like adding in the member group variable and using that in the CSS. So a couple of things before we get started. One is that my cat, and he's around here somewhere, is being super needy, so if he starts interrupting, I apologize. I think I've cleared everything off the desk that he will try and sweep off it, so hopefully he won't be much of a pain. And my voice is not that great today, so I apologize if that makes it a little bit harder for me to be understood. And I'm really stupid nervous for some reason, so I'm talking really, really fast. I'll try and slow that down. But let us get started. So here is our code pen that we're going to be working in today. And you can see that I've set up a user bar at the top and 3 post rows. And I've called them Red Mario, Gold Mario, and Metal Mario. And that's... my nephew is 4, he has a cousin who's 3. And when they play Mario together, they both get upset because you can't have 2 Marios in the one spot. Oh, Will and Ezra. I've got 3 of them. So, nah. And they're just very basic post rows. I actually don't hate them. You know, just very simple, grid-based. Got a post, avatar, name. Sweet, let's go. So that's what it looks like. Now let's take a little tour of the HTML. So we've got it wrapped in a class called full wrapper. We've got user bar, which is this part up here. And then we've got the post row container, which is each individual one of these. So they're all wrapped in post row cont. Then we've got post row left, which is this blue part here. The username box, which is up here. Red Mario, of course that's the username there. The part that I call color line, which is user information. So, you know, you might put something cool there. I don't know, I use it for something different every time. The actual post, very cleverly named the actual post. And over here I'm just going to flick this arrow and close that up. So this line is all of that, but we just don't need to see it. We've got bottom links, which is this blue part down here, and then it closes. And then we've got the next one, just close up that to make it shorter, and then of course Metal Mario down the bottom here. Just close that up. So that'll simplify what we're looking at. It's all still there, but it just makes it a bit easier to look at. And all those divs that I've collapsed contains is just the post information. So we don't need to see that. We know that's there. Alrighty. So now that we've had a look at the HTML, let's go through the CSS. So at the top here, I've got my import URL for the 2 fonts that I've brought in from Google Fonts. And we are using a font called Nurko, which is this very cute, bold, it looked video gamey to me. And Source Sans Pro at a weight of 300, which is this lovely post font that I'm using. I love a good sans serif. Just, it makes me happy in so many clean and happy ways. Which does not sound like the appropriate reaction one should have when talking about fonts, but whatever. Designers, you get me. So I also like to break my CSS up with comments so that I know where I am in it, and these are my group colors. So at the moment these are just defining the username colors. So we've got Red Mario, Gold Mario, Metal Mario, Princess Peach, which I'm going to be using up here because I'm logged in as Princess Peach because I'm Princess, obviously. Even though it's a fake user bar, I am always a princess. And then just a general accent color. And that general accent color at the moment is this. And then we've got post row colors, so we've got in the user bar, background is the general accent color, text color is white. and so on and so forth. So these are all currently colored in the general accent color. This bit here is just all positioning. I want to focus on the colors, so I've doubled up on my CSS a bit here, just to make it a bit easier to follow while we're going through. So if you end up looking at the code pen afterwards, don't worry about this. All this is doing is laying out the elements. So we've got, you know, bringing in the fonts and fixing the user bar and defining the grid templates and where all of those divs go in there. So that's all that this is here. Don't worry about editing any of this if that's what you want to do. Or if you want to do that, do that. If you want to take these whole post rows and make them into something that you like, go for it. I don't care. They are the most simple things in the world. You can probably do way, way better things with them than I would ever dream to. So go for it. You have my express permission. Alright, so now that we have talked a little bit about what I've already got set up here, let's look at a couple of different things. So what we want to do, which would be really cool, is to make this user bar change into Princess Peach's color. But we also want for each of these posts, where there is blue, to change into that user group color. So the blue here should be this red, the blue here should be this gold, and the blue here should be this lovely dark blue purple. I reckon that would look cool. You know why I reckon it would look cool? Because I know it looks cool. How do I know that? I just do. So at the moment we've got all of our group colors set. So you're probably used to seeing this part of it. Changing the user group color. And that is something that we typically do in the group edit box. So you'd have something like span class equals something, and then close the span there. You can see how this is reflected in my code pen in this bit here. Obviously I need to create the whole thing from scratch because we're not getting Jcink to generate it, but span class equals red Mario, that's the username, end span. That's pretty much what it generates on the other end. And then we've got the CSS down here. Some people will will hard code the colors into here and into here. So they'll set a hex code in here. I very highly don't recommend that because then you're stuck with that one color. If you set a class and then define it in the CSS, you can change that color depending on whatever's going on in your CSS rather than being stuck with that one color. So if you're still doing that, I don't mean still doing that, that sounds really horrible, but if you are doing that, there are definitely better ways to do it, and I highly suggest experimenting with them a little bit because trust me, it will make your life way easier. Alright, so in order to get things to change according to the member group, we need to use some member group variables, and there are 2 of them. So the first one that we're going to use is one called the logged in group ID. So if you go to the Jcink documentation and go down to group board wrapper global variables and then group variables, the one that you're looking for is this. So what this does is whatever member is logged in, it takes the group ID of that member for you to use. Now obviously I can't use it in CodePen, so how we would typically use it is we would add it onto our wrapper class and we would call it group color, and then I would copy and paste it because I am lazy in that way, and we would use it in that way. So group color, some people like to put a little dash there, I don't typically, but you know, do your best thing. So that's your global variable, your that means that everything that you decide should change globally for the person who is logged in can be controlled by this. In order to change things per post, we need to go into the HTML templates documentation and down to post rows. Now this is going to look very, very similar, but the way that they're generated is very different. So grab that, and we want to go into the container that holds the entire post. So for us that is post row cont, and you can see that by grabbing that and post row cont. So you can see how that is each one of those. Very cool. And we're going to call that the same, which might sound a little bit scary. And then just do that again. Now that's how you would do it if you were doing it straight in Jcink, but we're not. We're not doing it that way. So if we want to say that the Princess Peach group is group 1, we'll put a group 1 there. Red Mario, you can be group 2. Gold Mario, we'll call you group 3. Hello, Bubba. It's my needy cat. Metal Mario, you are group 4. And our general accent will be group 5, but we're not going to do that yet. Just close Inspector. Okay, so now that we've got these classes, what we can do is, okay, so post row left is this bit here. What we want to do is we want to define a variation on post row left that changes the color that's going to be used. So this is our default color, but if there's something else, we want it to change it. So post row left, group color 2, grab that, because we know that this group color 2 is only ever going to belong to Red Mario. Only ever. So put those together, and because they appear in the same class definition, there's no space between post row left and group color 2. Look, I do so much copy pasting when I'm coding. It's almost disgusting. And I'm always too lazy to go back and get my colors. So I've just selected that to pick up that color. Post row left dot group color 2. Boom. That's nifty. We don't hate it. What's next? Now, color line, because it appears after post row cont, we're going to have to do it a little bit differently. So it'll be group color 2 space dot color line. And again, we want that one. I picked up the wrong one, didn't I? What have I done? Group color 2 dot color line. Sometimes you just need to check it out in Inspector. And sometimes you need to save and refresh. Nope, I've still got it wrong. And this will happen a lot. I do feel the need to say that. Things aren't always going to go as well as you want them to. In fact, they almost never do. Group color -2. What have I missed? Right. I do this a lot. Color line with a U. Nope. Right. Good news, guys. You get to watch me do this and be very confused. You're probably sitting there screaming at me. The answer is so obvious, Sadri. Like, seriously. What even is wrong with you? What is wrong with me? Group color 2 dot color line. Because this should carry down to here. What have I done there? Shadow, what have I done? He doesn't know either, by the way. This is why I like to work with variables, because I can usually see what I've done wrong. Okay. Start again. Like I said, these things can feel really simple. Right. I know what I've done. And it was seriously dumb, guys. Like, seriously. It's beyond dumb. Alright. Step back a bit. Because this wasn't supposed to go in post row left. We want it to go into post row con. And I said that several times. I said it so many times. Because we want that to go into, basically we want it to go into the container rather than the elements inside it, because then we only have to define it once, rather than defining it 1, 2, 3, 4, so many times. So that means that this is wrong. We don't want post row left there. It's post row left dot group color 2 dot post row left. And if you're still with me, congratulations, you are way more intelligent than I am. So we'll just pop that. Still done with that. Okay. But look, at least I showed you how to get it to use two classes at once. That's cool, right? Okay, so group color 2 dot post row left. Cool. Now we've got that one. Group color 2 dot color line, because for some reason I spell color differently every time. Group color 2 dot bottom links, and that's those ones. That's all of the background fills. Now we need to do the borders that I've got. Group color to the actual post. Border color. Now, if you're wondering why I didn't go border left, border right, and change those colors, it's because I didn't have to. The actual post defines what the border style is going to be. Here I just want to change the color. If you want to completely change the borders, you could do that too. And we want to do the same in post row cont. But because it appears in the same line as post row cont, we need to join them. And this is the one where group color 2 comes last. So there we go. Red Mario is all red. Very, very shiny. So now, what we want to do is essentially duplicate all of these. So group color 2, but instead we're working with group color 3. And group color 3 is this one. So you can see how it's already starting to change these. And like I said, I do so much copy and pasting because it just makes my life easier. And I like to have these things nice and easily on hand. And usually you're just changing one class name by a single digit, changing one color. It's not usually anything too stressful. At least when you're doing it this way. It's a lot of copy paste and editing and all of that stuff. So there we go. Gold Mario is all set up. Red Mario, Gold Mario. Let's get on to Metal Mario. So we'll just go back up to the top. And we want to start with these border colors. What's your color, Metal Mario? This one. And here's group color 4. Just keep going down your CSS and adjust things as you need. And because I'm using the last version of each line, it will temporarily change to the wrong color. But we're okay with that, because it means I know where I'm up to. And I always need some marker to show me where I'm up to, because otherwise I just get so lost. So yeah, the minute I change this to group 4, it changes that over there, because I haven't changed the color yet. Change the border colors on either side of this post, because we know that I cannot do a post row that does not have cute little, oh, I like that gold and the purple, cute little lines on either side of the text. I don't know why that's my thing. It just is. It's just a thing I like to do. It's been in the last 2 themes that I've made. There we go. So that's all of those. Very cool. And of course, we haven't forgotten about Peach. Not at all. So you do this for the user bar as well. So what we want to do is we want to go group color 1 user bar. Background color. And Princess Peach's color is here. There we go. So that's all of my different member group colors in there. And because we want that member group bar to change according to who's logged in, we would do this as well. So group 2, as we know, is Mario. Red Mario, sorry. They're all Mario, except for Peach. Group 3, as we know, is Gold Mario. And group 4 is Metal Mario. So if we want to test that, we can go up here and say the person who's logged in is in group 3. And that should not have changed all of that. As you can see, I've messed it up again. Alright. What have I done and how have I done it? Because those all work. Group color 2. This is why we test, friends. That works. Group color 3. There's something weird in Red Mario's setup. Group color 4, we'll just test that before we move on. Okay, so there's something weird here. It's been a while since I've done things this way, you'll have to forgive me. What we want to do with all of these as well is we want to define that they're coming from here. Because we're using the same not that. Because we're using the same prefix for the global variable and the post variable, we just need to be a little bit more specific. So if we grab post row cont and put that there in front of all of those, of course it needs to be attached to the thing. You can see how this gets very, very messy very quickly. And that's why I'm going to show you a better way to do it. Why have I deleted my border color? That was silly. But the importance of testing should never be lost on anyone. Whoa, that was not the color I wanted. I'm also not used to working at this so zoomed in. Okay. So now that we've got everything nicely defined, let's see if it works now. So we know that group color 1 works. Cool. Group color 2. Cool. Group color 3. This is where it started going in. There we go. Beautiful. And group color 4. So you can see how the user bar was changing colors, but the posts weren't. And that's because we told it that inside post row cont, this particular class was to be applied. Whereas at the top, before post row cont, it was using a different color. So that's how you go about implementing the member group variable and changing the colors according to that, using very, very specific overrides. And that's a good way to do it, but there are better ways to do it. There are much, much better ways to do it. And we're going to do it using variables. So what variables do is they allow you to set a color or any little piece of information once and reuse it through the whole CSS without having to copy paste it as often. And as you can see, I do a lot of copy pasting. So just get rid of that so that we can see what we're doing a little bit better, because we don't need that for the minute. So what we want to do is we want to eliminate all of these hex codes that are in my CSS, because that's a nightmare, friends. That's an absolute nightmare. The first thing that we're going to do is, you can see that I've already got my group colors defined. That's awesome. That is really good. That's going to help us. But what we want to do, I'm trying to think of the best way to explain it. If you need a resource on CSS variables, W3 Schools has a really good one. It's pretty basic, but it'll give you a good sort of starting point. How to use it, how to use fallback values, which we're not going to use fallback values today. How to implement it, and I will often copy paste bits and pieces from here because I can. And a few reasons as to why you'd opt for variables rather than hard coding your values into the CSS. And the main reasons are, firstly, it's really hard to change your colors or any aspect of your design if you've written it in several thousand times. And having a variable defined in the CSS where you just change it once and everything changes is amazing. And the other is it can make your CSS really, really much easier to read. So see how these colors are kind of a little bit hard to read, or they all look the same to me? We can give them names that will make it much easier. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to grab this. So this is going to tell it that for the base of the document, or just, it's kind of like the body tag, you know, if nothing else matches, use these. And we're going to pop that at the top of the document, because that's what we do. And then we want to define a couple of variables. So red Mario var, gold Mario var, Metal Mario var and princess. Oh, gotta put them 2 dashes in, okay? And again, my hands are the worst. So I can give them English names, which is nice because that's the only language that I barely understand. And what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, every time I ask for this red Mario var, we want this color. Every time I ask for gold Mario var, I want this color. Every time I ask for metal Mario var, I want this color. And every time I ask for Princess Peach, this is the color that I want. Awesome. So this is how we set them. So it's just dash dash, the name that you want, colon, the information you want, semicolon. Easy. All wrapped up in some shiny, in a root tag. If you don't giggle at that, you are certainly more mature than me. And don't mind me, the pipes in this house make some weird sounds. You can probably hear that. Rip my plumbing. And yes, hi housemate! I'm recording a coding tutorial. Yeah. It doesn't stop. Okay, I think it's over. It's worse than the cat. Alright. So we've got those variables set up. Now we need to use them. And the way that we do that is anywhere that we want to see this color value, we're going to put it in like this. So we know that that's group color 2. And it is var, open bracket, dash dash, red Mario var, which is the name that we gave it, and close bracket. As you can see, nothing changed here. That's what we want. So now we just go and copy paste that anywhere we want. Cool beans? Cool beans. Nice and simple. So you can see, now that when I look at it, I say, oh, we're using the red Mario variable. Sweet. Now we create a gold Mario variable. So again, it's a var, open bracket, dash dash, gold Mario var. And if I set it up right, nothing here should change. It didn't. Awesome. And down we go. Change everything that is group 3. That's group 3. That is also group 3. Group 3. And we're done. And group 4, which is this one here, we know that's going to be Metal Mario. Ignore my shitty typing. And we copy. Oh, I forgot one. Just Mr. Gold Mario. That's alright. Whoa. Alright. So you can already see that it's a little bit easier to read and a little bit easier to follow, and especially if you're doing your group color stuff this particular way. Because all of the group colors are numbers and not names, it's absolutely much more easy. I've missed another gold Mario there. No, I didn't. Okay. It's much easier to be able to read your variables and go, ah, that's what I was doing. Okay, cool. So what you can see there is absolutely nothing has changed over here. That was the point. Just add Princess Peach there. Alrighty, so nothing has changed over here, and that was point of it. Let's change that back to the pink. Sweet. Okay. But it looks very different on this end. And I think it looks a lot more user-friendly. You might think otherwise. Just format that. But I find it much easier to read. And here's where the magic happens. Say we decide that's not metal enough, Metal Mario. But what is metal enough for Metal Mario? Let's go into Inspector and check out our colors. So we can check out the variables down here, and we can actually change this live and see what's going on. Ooh, yes. Metal Mario, you should be grey. Not this shitty purple. Grey, bro. So this isn't changing it, this is just demonstrating. But if we grab that color, and I'll refresh the page so that you can see that it actually hasn't changed anything. It's still there. But if we go into these variables here and we change this color once, we go down here, it's changed all of them. Except for that one, because that one mustn't have been defined. I'm doing a great job of demonstrating today, aren't I? Yep, so as you can see, that one was still being set by hex. There we go. And we'll just change his, because these are the colors for the user group names, and you're probably wondering why I haven't set them as variables yet, but there's usually a reason for my madness. So there we go. This is all in variables and very easy to change these group colors if I want. All I need to do is edit one of these 4 values. Sweet. So that's cool. What's next? Well, now that you've got this, how about setting an accent color and then having that apply all the way down? And what I mean is defining elements in your CSS that are accent items that change color based on the containers that they're in. So each of these colored pieces would be called an accent item, obviously. But instead of defining several versions of it, we can get away with one and change the color using variables, thus making all of this stuff that I struggled with before a lot easier. So what we're going to do is we are going to create a variable called accent color. And this is a variable that I use a lot. And that accent color is going to be that same general accent color that we used before. And what we're going to do is we're going to change all of these variables to accent color. In fact, we're not even going to do that. I'm going to bring this out so you can see what I'm doing. So instead of having group 1.userbar, group 2.userbar, group 3.userbar, group 4.userbar, because that is an absolute pain in the backside, we're going to have userbar defined once, and we're going to go var -- accent color. And that's going to change it to the blue for now. What a pain in the backside, right? Change that to accent color. And obviously you wouldn't go through the full evolution of it. I'm just showing you sort of how I went from one place to the next. But now that we've got accent color defined, we don't need these. Post row left. is going to be accent colored. We don't need all of these overrides anymore. And as you can see, it's all slowly changing to that blue, and that's okay. You can get mad at me later. Okay. Now accent color, and get rid of the overrides. We're not going to need them. You can see that this is going to shorten my CSS a lot. Accent color, and get rid of the overrides. Alright, so all of that work, and I am just back to where I started. Good job, Sadri. You're probably thinking that I'm crazy. I am a little bit crazy, but in the good, fun, totally I'm certified way. Stop laughing at me. My housemate's woken up and she's laughing at me now. Alright, so now that we've got userbar.accent color, cool, what do we do with that? I'm glad you asked. What we're going to do is, instead of defining it down here in the CSS, we're going to create variable groups, kind of, that tell it that if it's in this particular container, we're going to change what the accent color does. And that's why I've used the same prefix up here, because it makes life way easier. So our first one is group color 1. And we're going to say, if we're in a box that holds group color 1, we're going to call accent color hi. You could do this at any point. We're going to call it this. So if group color 1 appears, accent color is this. And as you can see, it's changed all of it to pink, because group color 1 is defined all the way up here at the top of the document. Good stuff, right? Yeah, I thought so. So this would be like your global logged in user. So anything that had an accent that you wanted to display for the person who's logged in, this is how you do it. You'd use it from the accent color up there. I've been saying accent a lot. But we want these to change as well. So that red Mario, gold Mario, and metal Mario are all in their proper user group colors. And all we need to do there is group color -2 and in that, anything that's got that wrapped on it is going to be accent color. So you can see how that one went blank when I started defining it. Is going to be red Mario. Yeah, cool. Now, of course, you could also use your variables. So CSS peach var, and that will also work. You can use variables to define variables. It's a happy day. And in fact, we might do that because it's easier. And because I've got them already defined up here, so why not? Group color -3. What accent color is that one? That's gold Mario. Gold Mario var. One of the reasons that I also love variables is I find them much easier to remember. I don't need to keep going back and finding the code. And the last one to go is group color -4. accent color metal Mario. And there he goes. So with just a little bit of editing, we have set up some variables and set up some variable overrides according to the group colors. And we have eliminated a whole lot of stupid little pieces that just drive me insane. So all of those overrides, this is a lot shorter, it's a lot easier to understand. That's happy days. And we don't need, oh, we do need those because they're controlling those. I haven't set those as variables, so ignore that. But yeah, that makes that much easier. And that's a really good way to set things so that all of your accents are easily controlled. You can change those variables to anything that you like. You can set them for light mode, you can set them for dark mode, you can set them for different skins. It's just a much easier way to go about things. But let's level it up again. Because another thing that you could do is you could use Rgb values rather than hex values. These are all set in hex, which is your little hashtag with 6 numbers. And that's cool. But that doesn't really help when you're doing opacity. Something I'd like to do is these lines either side, they look a little bit bold. Yes, shadow. So what we could do is we could set opacity to 0.5, which would fade out those lines, but it's also fading out the post. Because if you set opacity on the parent element, which is where the borders are, that's going to set opacity on everything inside it, and we do not want that for the post. We do not. Faded posts are bad. But we can get around that. What we need to do is we need to change all of our variables. So these are our main variables here. Change these into Rgb values. And when you're looking at colors in Inspector, you can see it's got hex, or you can see it as RGBA. So you've got your red, green, blue, and I'm not sure what the A actually stands for, but it's basically a transparency marker. And when you're using Rgb values, so it's 20400, I define them as 20400, like that. And we're just going to break things for a little minute, so don't freak out. This one is 204.102.153, 204.102.153, I said? Yes, I did. That's not the one I wanted, but you know, cool. That was Princess Peach. 204.102.153. This is really good for my short-term memory. So you'll see that's disappeared as well. We'll just it's okay, guys. I'm gonna fix it. And 204.153.0. And Metal Mario. $96, $96, $99. Alright, so it doesn't know what to do with this because I've just set these as raw values. And that's not how we use Rgb values in general. So what we need to do is we need to go down here And anytime we see accent color, we need to add I've got insert on, haven't I? Yay. So add RGBA bracket around accent color. So we want that. And then close it. So you can see the elements slowly coming back in as I add that, so that it knows what to do with those numbers. And you can see it breaking as certain things aren't quite ready for it. This is half the joy.
Wait, can we play Mario Kart?
Alright then, Will. Okay. So now you can see that I've got all of that set up, but I still don't have that opacity that I was talking about. Geez, Sadri. You're so full of shit. So I'm going to drop a line here. I'm going to create something called Opacity Bar. And we'll set it to 0.5, because opacity is always a fraction of 1. So 0.5 is exactly half, whereas 0.2 is a fifth, so on and so forth. And we wanted to do these lines on the side here, and this is something really cool that you can do with RGBA values that you can't do with hex. So what we've got here is we've got RGBA. The first thing in those brackets is the color. The second is the opacity. So we could hard code that, and that would work just fine. As you can see, it's applied the opacity. In fact, we might even go to 0.2 just so you can really see it. Yeah, I like the 0.2. You can see how it's faded that out, but it hasn't faded the post like it did when we went with the full opacity on that element. So what we'll do is just copy that accent color variable, because copy paste is my friend, and change the name of it to Opacity Bar. And then just copy paste that into the other one as well. So you can see when I did it manually, I had to change both of them individually. And look, the 0.5 is good, but I want to test it a little bit. So here's our opacity var. What does it look at 0.9? No, too strong. 0.1, definitely too weak. I liked the 2. It's nice. So you can see how using the variables I can change things a lot easier and a lot quicker. And by pairing a color variable with an opacity variable, I only have to use the color once. It does have its limitations, and that is, if you remember before when I grabbed that color, I now can't change it in Inspector, and that is a limitation. But overall, I find that this particular approach is really good for making your CSS a bit easier to read, making things a bit easier to follow, and only having to enter things as few times as possible, which is really good for me because, as you can see, I am already addicted to copy paste. So yeah, that is the CSS variables and member group magic. There are definitely a lot of things that I haven't covered, but here's a couple of things that you might be interested in seeing as well. So now that we've got all of this stored as variables, including the Princess Peach variable, if I change this, and I'm looking at Red Mario here, if I change this to group 1, that should all go, wait for it, pink. Perfect. That's what we want. And if I change it to 3, it'll go gold. And so on, but we know that he's group 2. So I think that's all that I've got to cover. It's all that there is on my little cheat sheet. I'll leave a couple of resources that I use. in the description. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you got something out of this and that you didn't laugh too hard at me being an idiot because I couldn't figure out that I'd done it wrong. Cheers guys, much love.